Hello, welcome to another episode of Wealth Talk. My name is Christian Rodwell and I am joined by Mr. Kevin Whelan, founder of WealthBuilders.
Hello, Chris. Episode 10, I believe,
Here
right?
we are.
10th episode, 10th country.
That's correct. Yes.
In 10 countries now.
We are indeed spreading across the world.
I hope so.
Yes. So, Kevin, this episode, we're going to start looking at some of the ways that you can begin building wealth if you're at an early stage, so just at the beginning.
Right.
But I think probably relevant as well for people maybe even a bit further down the line. They can look at some of these ideas and perhaps bring them into their wealth building plan.
Sure. I mean, when you're in the foundation, which is really trying to apply some of the principles we explained in a previous episode on debits, and you find money, then you can immediately put that money to work no matter where you are on your wealth level, and you can accelerate your journey literally no matter where you are. But I know we seem to get a lot of questions for people at the beginning, Chris, when they're just trying to get that gravity, that momentum going. So didn't we have a question recently from one of our Facebook members?
We have had a wonderful post actually in the Wealth Builders Facebook group this week from Adrian Cogger. And shout out to you, Adrian, if you're listening, which I know you will be. And Adrian posted that he had listened to the podcast episode on debits that we did, which was episode 4. If you haven't checked that out, have a listen to that after this episode. And also we've been sending out a lot of blog posts over the last few weeks, which have also gone into more detail around the debits model.
Right.
Debits is all about finding money in your life.
Finding money, it's the creation stage, you know. So at Wealth Builders, we create, we build, we protect. And this is about the creation stage for people who sometimes will hold back. They'll say, you know, I'm never going to get to this place of financial independence because I don't have enough. You don't need to have enough. You just need to get started. It all starts like a kid with baby steps. And I think we can show 7 baby steps today, can't we?
We will do.
Yeah.
We will do. So Adrian posted, and following the debits model, not only managed to reduce the car renewal by about £300 annually, but is now saving an extra £100 a month just by going through and finding little things here and there that he was paying for, which he no longer needs. So things like cover on pipe and drainage cover.
Well, people buy insurance in all sorts of different places, and they get added on, you know, like the washing machine insurance, the iPhone insurance, the extra insurance on this and that. And when you find out you're overcovered or you just really don't value it, it's something you can quite confidently eliminate as long as you find something else, you know, that you would rather spend the money on. So, you know, Adrian's not just done a good job of looking into it, but made an assessment of what's important to him. And that's just as important in the whole process.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it's always interesting just to hear some of the savings other people are making, because it might just ring, you know, true in your own mind of like a magazine subscription or something that you used to use, which you no longer use. And that money can certainly be reapplied in wealth building ways. And if anyone wants to perhaps leave a question, so like Adrian's posted in the Facebook group, but we also now have the ability to record any questions that people might have that they want to ask us from the Wealth Builders website. So wealthbuilders.co.uk/wealth talk. Not only can you review all of the episodes and all of the transcriptions if you prefer to read, but you can click a button there, and it's a bit of software that we've put on the page called SpeakPipe. So when you go to wealthbuilders.co.uk/wealth talk, you will see an orange button and you'll be able to click that and leave us a question. Now, I know a couple of people on mobile recently have said, it was a bit tricky.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, if you're on a mobile and the button doesn't allow you to record, you just need to go into your settings for your web browser, whether it's Safari or
Safari
Chrome.
on an iPhone, for example.
Safari often on an iPhone, and then just enable the microphone.
Got it.
And then it will let you leave the question.
There you go. Well, let's hope for more questions. But of course, you know, the benefit of sharing the question on the Wealth Builder Facebook group is other people get to see the question and interact with you, which is a great place of sharing anyway. Yeah. But just in case you get that burning question, you know, fire it off and give us permission, if it's a great question, to share it with others too. So SpeakPipe, right?
SpeakPipe, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, once you've gone through debits and you've got this extra money in your life, like Adrian, a few £100 now.
£100.
What do you do?
Well, you know, whether it's £100 or whether it's £50 or whether it's £25, you know, 100 quid is a good job, you know, so hats off, Adrian, done a great job. there are many things that should be done or could be done to enable the feeling of progress as far as your wealth building journey is concerned. Now, remember, we're trying to accelerate people to move forward from one level to the next. So once they've identified their level, say it's financial insecurity, for example, and they want to move forward towards financial security, then one of the ways to do that is to stop going in reverse. So if we give kind of 7 examples, number 1 would be reduce or eliminate your debt. Mm-hmm. And while you go through the debits, the point of the D is to identify your debt, but it isn't always possible to eliminate the money or eliminate the debt or reduce the debt unless you found money to so do. And one of the ways to do that is if you've got credit card debt, for example, there's a process we use called marshalling the forces. I think one of the secrets in my earlier book, Save a Fortune, goes into that in some detail. And I guess you could post a link to that.
Yeah, we've actually done a blog post as well, so we mentioned that.
Right,
so
okay, cool.
I'll put that in the show notes.
So that just helps you to almost accelerate the way any kind of credit cards can be moved from the highest cost debt, get rid of that one, then get rid of the next one and get rid of the next one. And what that does is 2 things. One, it gives you feeling of momentum. And 2 is it's starting to reduce the monthly cost of that total debt so you feel like you're making some progress. And also some people are a bit worried about the size of their mortgage, Brexit and many other things. So you can even send, if you take £100, that's a reasonable sum of money, you could parcel that up into different things and say, well, I'll pay £50 a month off my debt, off my mortgage, off my credit cards, and I'll build with £50 by using that money to grow something. Mm-hmm. And one of the easiest things to recognize, especially for those at the very beginning of their journey, is to build some form of emergency fund.
Right, and this is number 2.
It's number 2. So, getting an emergency fund is really important if you're at the beginning of your journey, so that if something goes backwards again, whether it's a big bill that comes through your door, which you can't eliminate, you might shop around and get it cheaper, but your boiler breaks down, okay, shop around, get the best price, but if it breaks down, you've got to pay for it. So building an emergency fund is a really good thing to do if you haven't done that. Mm-hmm. And usually we'd suggest somewhere around 3 to 6 months worth of your kind of normal expenses would be a good place to have. And don't worry too much about what the interest rate is. Don't worry too much about making that as a way of building wealth. Just use that as a sum of money, as a cushion, as a safety blanket, something to fall back on so you feel like that's locked in. And then anything over and above that, if you're saving £100 a month and you need, £1,000, build £1,000, and then once you've done that, go off and build to the next level.
Great.
Yeah.
What would be the third in our list, Kevin?
Well, the third, and it's a point raised by Adrian actually, is that sometimes when people get to a place where they've taken on a new mortgage or they've done some things, they don't always realise that while they may have eliminated the insurance on their pipes and drains, mm-hmm. right? Well, what about the life cover for themselves? If they've got debt or they've got a young family with kids and a wife, or the other way around, it might be important to get that life cover in place. And it can be only a few pounds a month. So someone's got £100 a month, a few pounds a month to protect themselves so that if anything happens to them, either through illness or death, then their income is maintained, then that could be a really valuable thing to do. And bear in mind also, Chris, that most of our Wealth Builder students on their way to creating some form of business. And once you're a business owner, of course, you can buy that life cover, as I mentioned on a previous episode, with tax relief.
That's right.
So, you're just getting a double bubble there. You're getting reduction in price for tax relief, and also you're protecting your family. And as you build your wealth, of course, you reduce the cover so that it's never a permanent thing. It's always, insurance is always something to review.
And that's called relevant life insurance.
That's called relevant life, yeah. And that's definitely one of the things that I would recommend anybody look into, either with our team or anywhere else where they're getting advice, in order to get that cover, get it in place, protect themselves, and where possible, get that tax relief if it's appropriate. Sometimes it isn't, and that's fine. But when you become a business owner, which we want everybody to be at some point, We'll talk next episode maybe about business and about the leverage of business. Then business ownership is a key objective at some level when you're building your wealth.
Yeah. But we always talk about the wheel of wealth. It always begins with education, doesn't it? So it's always about understanding what's possible.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose, the number 4, we could say then, if you have recognized the desire to build wealth now, and you're just beginning to get a feeling for which asset is the appropriate one, then you could just simply start investing some of that money in yourself and use that to build an education, just picking up on your point there.
Right.
And that education would then equip you to create more wealth in the future. So we know that the wheel of wealth always begins with education. It always starts there. So you have to get your education from somewhere. Now, sometimes you can use other assets to pay for it. But if you don't have any other assets, but you've got a few £100 a month or £100 a month, you could probably get access to some good education for a fraction of that if you're looking for it in the right places. So we're well connected to any of the different assets people could use to build their wealth, and that would be a good place to start to let us know what you're interested in, and we'll try and help you find that education at the lowest possible cost.
Yeah, and the WealthBuilders Facebook group is a great place just to post and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Does anyone have any experience and knowledge? And I'm sure many people will be able to reach out.
Yeah.
So point number 5.
Yeah, point number 5, I would say, look, one of the obvious places to begin thinking about building some wealth is to make some kind of an investment. And while on a previous podcast we talked about some of the risks that people take in investments, being sure to understand the risks they're taking, an easy place to start, Chris, is with some form of index tracker fund. And the reason why I suggest index trackers is because, number 1, you're investing in the market generally. Number 2, trackers are very, very low cost, particularly if you use something called ETFs. Now, ETF sounds funny, sounds another bit of a wealth language thing. Exchange traded funds. It's just a way to be able to buy access to the world of investing, usually at a fraction of the price it costs when you're buying it through conventional funds.
And you don't need a broker. You can just go online and...
You can go online and do that, and there's a whole host of websites where you can use online. Actually, some interesting news coming, not for now, is we're on the verge of creating our own platform to allow our own investors to invest so cheaply in a way that just gives them access to incredible value. But watch this space.
Wow, breaking news.
Breaking news, yeah. I'm close to doing that, but not quite yet. But certainly it wouldn't matter. Look to invest money in low cost, in trackers or ETFs. The other value, of course, in investing in regularly monthly, for example, whether it's £100 a month or a fraction of that, doesn't have to be the whole sum, as I said, is you participating in something called pound cost averaging. Americans, they call it dollar cost averaging. The principle there is the risk in the market is always, as I said on a previous episode, markets tend to rise very slowly and then fall very quickly. When you're buying monthly, then you're buying the units in the fund or the units in the ETF at different prices each month. So if the market falls, you end up buying lots more units. So if the price of a share, let's say, was £1, and you invested £1 in that share, you buy 1 share. If it falls to 50p, you might go, oh no, woe is me, 50p, I've halved the money. But no, if you're buying every month, then you're buying this twice as many units the following month, and then you carry those units forward when the markets change again. So while it's not a foolproof method of building wealth, because remember, you're parking your money in a market, you're not really in control of that. But the long-term value is that the markets will generally produce a positive return, and more so than inflation. So if you're in doubt, just buy a low-cost set of trackers.
Yeah, and very liquid, you can get your money out straight
Yeah,
away.
that's the other point. Of course, you should always think about investments for the long term, but there is some liquidity there because you can buy and sell instantly. There's a whole market for that. But just bear in mind that, if you're trying to think about that as a savings vehicle, it's probably not ideal. Probably, more suited to something probably not the lottery, right? The lottery tickets, but maybe the equivalent of the lottery. How about, Chris, if I could tell you, you can invest your money in the lottery, but if you don't win, I'll give you your money back. Does that sound
That sounds like a good deal.
Well, that, sir, is called a premium bond.
Right.
Right. And now the premium bond access has come down from £100 to buy into a premium bond to £25. Then it means for £25 a month, you can buy a premium bond, which, while it's not really a growth maker, it's not a wealth builder, but it's a place to park emergency money. It's underwritten by the government. So as far as we know, we would call that gilt-edged, or, your money's safe. And of course, you're participating in a prize draw where, you can win £1 million. So that would be definitely wealth building if you could get £1 million in one go. However, you don't ever lose your stake. So if you want to get your money back, you give a month's notice.
Right.
So relatively easy access, no risk at all, assuming governments don't go bust, but then we're all in trouble. But you're getting the participation in a draw. And, for some people, they love the little pleasure of the 25 quid win here and the 50 quid win there and 100 quid win there. And I have to say, I've got premium bonds myself. I quite like that. My wife loves them. So, it's all good fun, really.
I was going to say, could you perhaps put the emergency fund money in there? But I guess if you've got to wait a month, then perhaps it's not quite as accessible as you may need it.
Well, it's a great point, Chris, but remember that most emergencies you have in your life don't need to be responded to instantaneously. And, you can get your money. You just, if it takes a month, well, if your boiler broke down, you could still probably pay for it on the credit card, but then use the premium bonds to pay for the credit card. So, it's an interesting perspective to be able to do that. So it's another way. So we've had a bit of we've got, get the wheels going forward, so stop being in reverse, get rid of the debt, build an emergency fund, protect yourself, and because you're the machine that cranks the engine, that turns out the money if you're a job owner, and therefore being sure that that money keeps coming if something happens to you is quite an important thing. Invest in trackers, maybe, certainly get an education. If in doubt, use the lottery ticket. No, use a premium bond. But there is one more, Chris, which is, I would say that one of the ways you can build wealth is to get the leverage of the relationship with somebody else whose values you share, whose products you recognize and appreciate, where you could make some money by being a referrer. And we call that an affiliate program. And there are many affiliate programs out there. You might have to pay a few £100s to be trained or to be signed up to those sorts of things. But if you truly resonate with something and it provides great value, then why not look into affiliate programs? Lots of people do this with online.
It's such a common model now. Even Uber, you can share with someone else and you'll get a free ride. That's an affiliate program. So probably people are using it without even realizing sometimes.
Okay. So, signing up to some sort of affiliate program, if that works for you and fits in with your lifestyle and fits in with your wealth dynamic, if you're really well connected, then an affiliate program could certainly suit people who are very highly connected, high in blaze energy, for example. And I know we offer an affiliate program ourselves for those who are really keen and want to be connected to us, and maybe more about that on another episode. But lots of things out there that can start then creating a bit of income every month. And then that's further helping you. And one of the ways I like to think about this as you're moving through, as we're imagining that our podcast today is really aimed at the beginners in their wealth journey, is they have got a set of expenses they've calculated to be, this is what I need to cover my basic expenses. So if you've reduced that by looking at your debits, so in this case, say £100 a month, that's great. But if you're then building some wealth using any of these examples, and then say you build £100 a month in income, then you're taking care of some of your bills. And then you do the next one, you're taking care of more of your bills. So you're staircasing your way from insecurity to security to then free you to get involved much more in the bigger sources of leverage, where you can massively accelerate And that's when you're getting into, different programs, different investments, property, and some of the other investment pillars that we've talked about on previous episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, it can almost turn it into a bit of a game, can't you? You can say, well, how can I create an extra couple of £100 a month, and then that's going to pay off this area?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It should be a game, because that way you're participating in the game. You're not thinking, oh, this is all too hard. So I would encourage anybody to get started. And it'd be great to hear that some people have posted something to say, they've done something with their debt. They've invested some money somewhere and they're getting a good return, or they've become an affiliate and they're getting a good return. It'd be great to hear some news from people as well as questions.
Yeah, so please, if you do have some good news, you've saved a few pounds here or there from following the debits method, then please leave us a message and a question on the Wealth Builders website, and we'll read that out in a future episode.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Great, that was really good. Thanks, Kevin.
It's an interesting one, wasn't it?
Okay, so next episode, what are we going to look at?
Well, I think we talked about leverage, and I think in our Wealth Builder process, we talk about FIRST, or FIRST, the 6 different ways that you can really get some powerful leverage going in your life. Why don't we do that?
Let's do that one. All right, see you next time.
See ya.